Hey everybody. So this is my first video that I'm posting ever. I've never done this before, um, which is cool. And hopefully maybe you know me and you like me and you're willing to watch this video all the way through. Cool, thanks. But really, hopefully there's some value in it for you. That's really the point here is that I've made a commitment to share what I'm up to, and this is part of that. And really, the point is that there's value to be shared, that you get something out of it. So, um, some of you probably know that I've started a clubhouse recently called Self Perfected, and that's part of a larger community, a global community. And my in-person clubhouse, it's here in Oakland, and we meet every second or every 2 weeks on Saturdays. And the global community, they have a hangout on Zoom every Friday, so it's great. It's the purpose is that we are supporting each other in living the best expression of ourselves, and it means many different things. There's a lot of things to look at, but if you're at all interested in that kind of thing, then cool, keep watching, and hopefully you come to our hangouts. So, last week in the hangout, we were challenged to post a video, which is why I'm doing this, and to talk about a word that we're exploring, interested in, and what it looks like to live that word. So, kind of wasn't clear on what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to live a word? So, I'll get into that. But the word that I've been focused on recently is patience. And the reason why it's important to me, or why bother, is because as a father, my son Ben, he's 3 years old. So as a father, I feel that patience is a pretty critical skill to have. To really understand that, and living it. Like kind of like how do you live patience? Well, it would be like the practical application of it. That's kind of the bottom line on it. But patience to me, the word represents that kind of pause or space. It's like tolerance of the delay, the waiting a little bit. Get like the room before you indulge in, some kind of like automatic way of being, right? So, or before you react, right? Just enough space. So, like, it could take a while, right? Or it could be patience, could also be like, you need to accomplish some big task and you're willing to endure, right? So it takes patience to be able to do that. So like, why is this important with Ben? I know that when I was growing up, if I think back to like when I was his age, and I look at other parent-child relationships, it's pretty clear to me that like I had experiences of my parents being frustrated with me, or experiencing anxiety or fear, or or being really angry, that kind of thing with me. And as a 3-year-old, it's really almost like too much to handle. Like you're really getting a hold of language even at that point. So to have an understanding of a complex reaction that your adult parents are having, and then to then have to be responsible for it, that like you have to behave a particular way so that they don't experience that anymore, is almost an impossible task, right? But you make it through, right? Like you find a way, because if you don't, it's kind of like your parents are your world, right? So like if you don't do that, your whole world comes crashing down. It's like an existential crisis, like you have to come up with a way to deal in that situation, right? So like for me, I can remember deciding, right, okay, I'm going to do what my parents say. Like I'm just going to do what they say. I don't know why, but I'm going to do it, or I'm going to be good, like whatever that means. But I think good means doing what they say. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be obedient. You could also, I could have also decided like, I'm going to run away. I'm going to avoid the situation. Like, I don't want to be here. I'm getting out of here. I don't know how to handle this, right? Like, I mean, you could do that too. But as a 3-year-old, you don't have a lot of options. Um, so, I can see that if I'm not able to be patient with Ben, if I'm not able to take the time and, slow down a bit, then he's going to be left in that same situation. And not to say that like he's probably been left in that situation already. Like I'm going through this process, but I'm being patient with myself, right? So, what does this look like actually, like practically? Like, what's an actual example of this? So, recently, we were at a picnic at a playground in the park with a bunch of parents and families and stuff, and Ben was playing with some of the kids there, and they ran over to one of the play structures, and we kind of followed some of us, and we were chit chatting, and then this other little boy joined in what they were doing, running around with them and everything. And I was in the middle of a conversation, kind of on the other side of the play structure, and I noticed out of the corner of my eye, just kind of like, I don't know, like whatever, intuition, something's not right. And I'm watching, I turn and I see Ben, and he's pushing this little boy that had just joined, the group, and they were running around together. And there's a slide at the top, right? And Ben's pushing him in the other direction, and he's pushing him. They're like on the high platform, right? Because there's a slide, right? So they're like on the high point. He's pushing him back towards the ladder, right? So it's an opening in the guard and the gate, or in the fence around the top of this thing. He's pushing him towards that, and he's not stopping. It's not like he's just gave him a push. He's like pushing him, right? And I see this happening, and it's like everything starts to slow down, and it's like, oh no. And I start yelling for him, Ben, stop. And he doesn't stop, and he keeps going. And at this point, I'm running over there, and it's, like I'm watching this happen, and Ben pushes him, and the boy starts to fall backwards off of this high platform, and my heart just sinks. It's like, everything in my being just wants to slow everything down, like, no. And, thankfully there's a rubber surface on this play yard, but this boy falls and he hits the ground. And I see his mother, she like throws her food, on the ground. She scales this fence that's next to her and starts running for her son. And, I see that the boy is crying, but like his mother's like right there. So then she goes to him, and I go to Ben, and Ben's up on this platform still. And I'm just feeling like, I can't believe this just happened. I need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. This is totally unacceptable. I'm ready to like just be so upset and angry about this with Ben, and just make sure he never does anything like that again. But I know, in a moment, I know that that's not what's going to be the best for Ben. I don't really know what's going on for myself. I don't understand the reactions that I'm having. Everything's happening so fast, but I know that that's not what there is to do. So I do my best in the situation. That I can. It's not the best that I could do, but in the moment, and knowing what I knew at that moment, I did the best that I could, right? So I get Ben down off the platform, and I sit down with him next to this woman and her son, and he's just like this. Her son is just like, like big wet tears are coming down, and he's probably terrified. He's okay physically, but like, you know, traumatized by this fall. And she's just, you know, like holding him, and I bend down on my knee, and you know, and then we're just there, all of us together. And I'm telling Ben, you know, like, you know, what you did was unacceptable, to, you know, to push him. And the mother is, she's very gracious. I mean, she's just being like with her son, you know, just trying to comfort her son. And Ben at some point says, you know, like, I'm sorry, and like, and all of this, like, I still know that there's more to this. So it's really intense. And she gets up, takes her son away. I think they end up going home, packing up and going home. And Ben and I go off, and he ends up going back and playing. And I go and talk to Maya, my wife, about it. And like, oh my God, this thing just happened. This can't, you know, like, we can't let this happen anymore. And this is what I did. And I know, like, there's more to it, but like, you know, I still can't process what was going on. So later, when I go home, this is really where, you know, there were like dribs and drabs of patience. I knew I was already starting to kind of integrate it, but when I got home is when I really gave myself some space, because I was still upset, and I still wanted to like punish Ben, or like, you know, make sure he never did this again. And still, I knew that wasn't the best thing to do. So I did some writing, you know, like, there's a process that I am doing now, a writing process, which is really helpful. And then I use TechnoTutor to integrate, you know, what I'm learning, which is a technology that helps me to rewire, you know, these types of reactions, or it's kind of unconscious programs that run. So I use that. I do that writing process, and the thing that I find is that in the moment that kid was falling, I felt totally helpless. Like, there's nothing that I can do to stop this from happening right now, and it feels awful. I felt guilt and embarrassment that this is my son that's doing that, and I didn't want to have this feeling anymore. So I was ready to punish Ben to make sure that I didn't have this feeling. But I also realized that Ben's actions, whatever he's doing, is not directly tied to my experience. So like, Ben could be doing whatever Ben's doing, and I could have whatever experience, and they're not connected necessarily. They might be happening at the same time. But it's not a reaction to what Ben's doing. It's a reaction to what I'm experiencing. So the other thing that I started to see is that, of course, Ben pushing a kid off that high platform is not the answer. But like, what he was actually doing there is that he wanted to be the one to go down the slide first. That was it. He didn't want to push that kid off the platform to like punish the kid for trying to go down the slide. Like, that was not what Ben was trying to do. Ben just wanted to be the one to go down the slide first. I don't think Ben was even aware that there was a gap in the platform or anything like that. He was just pushing the kid away from the slide because he wanted to go down the slide. So the other thing that I saw is that it's not acceptable for Ben to push somebody like that. But what there is to do is to support Ben in communicating, right? To use language, to use his vocabulary, to find a way to talk to this other person, to explain or convince or whatever, to really communicate what it is that he wants. And I can support Ben in doing that. And that's what there was to do in that moment. Of course, you know, like, the immediate thing was to make sure everybody was okay, and to explain that that is not the way to to do it, but to support Ben in how he can communicate with his words without having to resort to pushing. So that's not something to punish Ben for. That's something to support Ben in. But if I am just reacting, I don't have a chance. I'm not going to be able to support Ben. So it's critical for me to be able to slow down enough to understand what's happening, my own reaction to what's happening, so that I can really support Ben in the way that he needs me to do as a father, right? And that's what I want to do for Ben, and that's why I'm doing this. I mean, like, honestly, it is so important to me to be able to do the best that I can for Ben. So that's, to me, what it looks like to actually live patience, like an actual example in my life of what it looks like to live patience, to give myself room enough in those moments to give Ben the support that he needs. Now, like, since then, Ben's doing all the things that a 3-year-old does. He hammers on his workbench super loud, or he takes his pants off so that he can pee in the front yard, or he spills his shake on the carpet, or whatever. I mean, he's so and I've been finding that I have just so much more room to stop and breathe and see what's happening, and to talk to him, like to show him what's best, or the consequences of what he's doing, or to explain to him, like, hey Ben, like, it's cool, so go ahead and hammer away on your workbench, great, like, it's too harsh on my ears, so I'm gonna go in the other room, but it's cool. And to be able to communicate with him, and I am just just very grateful for that, to be able to do that. So living the word patience, that's kind of what it looks like to me. And I hope that that's interesting to you, and you got some value out of that. But anyway, I'm committed to sharing these types of things, so I'll be putting more videos together, and reach out if you want to chat about any of this. Something piqued your interest, I'd love to talk more. Love to have you at the clubhouse every other Saturday. We're having one this week, so yeah, see you soon.